Hi, I'm Deborah Birnbaum, editor-in-chief of Gold Derby, and I'm here with Ethan Alter, our deputy editor, and we're excited to welcome Cole to the family. Cole, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here.
So we've been having pundits predicting for Gold Derby for a while now. We just thought it was finally time to put a face to the names and people who've been predicting and get them to join us and debate with us along with all of our predictions and figure um, we can talk about what's coming up, who we think is going to win, where things are standing right now. So Cole, welcome to the family.
Well, thank you. I was saying that I've been watching since high school, so I am excited to be here.
So Cole, why don't you just introduce yourself a little bit? Tell us about you and what you've been doing. I mean, I know you've got a huge following of your own.
On YouTube, I'm going under the Oscar expert, which is just stuck around. And
Which
since
indeed
I
you
think
are.
2018, me and my twin brother have been predicting the Oscars. We love movies, so we also review films and do some reactions to the awards and the nominations and everything. Just get all excited about it.
No, absolutely love it. You built a huge following. So coming into this, what's your favorite prediction that you've made in the past? Like, what's the one dark horse that you've supported that's come true for you? The pick that you're proudest of?
I guess for wins, like we did start predicting everything everywhere all at once in June, I think, and we held on to it the whole time. So that was pretty good stock, I think.
What was it about Everything Everywhere that made you get behind it?
It seemed like once it kind of felt like okay, this is going to get nominated. It felt to me like Ki Hoi Kwan was coming for win contention, and the script as well kind of fit the bill. I didn't know that I was not predicting that it would win as many as it did, but I thought in the years preceding that movie, having a supporting actor and a script was kind of a good formula, and it seemed to be kind of warming people's hearts and ticked a lot of boxes. Like you could kind of see the SAG ensemble path too. I'm not sure I was predicting that win yet, but it just had some of those factors.
So to all those neophytes, all those Gold Derby users that are filling out their ballots, what's the one thing that they should look for? What's your secret thing that you say, like, here's the thing that you look for when you're going to predict a winner?
To predict a winner, it feels different even like in the last few years than the years before that. Um, because I guess Oppenheimer was unusual in that since maybe like 2019, there were a lot of underdogs that were winning. And that's also it kind of felt like Everything Everywhere was some kind of underdog. It's like the scrappy movie that surpassed expectations. But, with a movie like Oppenheimer winning, we that trend doesn't have to hold forever. I think that definitely just being able to see something that has broad appeal with critics, audiences, something that has a potential to win an acting award, certainly something that is in contention to win screenplay and or director. Um, just kind of seeing that as the path, I think is the key.
So, Ethan, you're smiling and nodding a lot. What's your secret? What do you look for when you're looking at the ballot?
Well, as you'll hear, I'm always thinking about narratives. I like I love a good narrative, and I know a lot of people do that. And sometimes my narratives are a bit out there, sometimes a bit experimental. But I love thinking about narratives and how they factor into what people are going for. So definitely some of the things we'll be talking about. I'm going to be looking at the strong narratives behind some of these movies that we're going to be discussing.
All right, let's do it. So let's get into this year's race. Let's start. All right, let's start with the big daddy of them all, Best Picture. We've got a lot of different things this race. I think what I'm most excited about this year is that we do have films that are all over the place. There's not one big thing that's coming in there like an Oppenheimer that's going to come in and sweep it all. Though you may have an argument that you think, and I can think of one film that you may be thinking is going to come in and sweep it all. But what do you think? What do you think of this year's Best Picture race? Cole, why don't you start us off?
Narrative is a great place to start. I mean, before all the fall festivals hit, I did have Sinners at number one, kind of for that reason. It was very zeitgeisty, had people talking about like social and cultural themes. So I think that ticked a lot of the boxes, but then all the movies premiere in the fall and you got to reevaluate. So right now I have one battle after another, probably like most. It definitely feels like it's a year for Paul Thomas Anderson, who's
Mm-hmm.
11 nominations deep without a win, to finally get something, whether that's screenplay or director. And it definitely feels like he can win both. People are predicting it for most people have it for 3 or 4 acting nominations, and there's even some people who are predicting it for 5 or 6. Maybe that's too much, but it's got, acting potential, it's got tech potential. It is just kind of that filmmaker narrative that we've seen work in the past few years, where you have Sean Baker's time, where even though he wasn't nominated before, everybody kind of had started to build a reputation, started to build around him and celebrating him as a filmmaker. And then there was Christopher Nolan. So I think Paul Thomas Anderson, I just feel like the industry could definitely rally behind him. Whenever you hear people in the industry talking about what their favorite movies are, or who they want to work with, especially actors, like they're all talking about Paul Thomas Anderson. So this is a great time to give him some awards. And I think if you got him for director, then picture's not too far off.
Ethan, what do you think?
No, the Anderson narrative is a very good one. It's and certainly the fact that he hasn't won yet, that he's had several movies that have always been in contention, going back to There Will Be Blood and Magnolia, even before that. The best director win is overdue, I think most people would say. So no, I totally like that narrative a lot. But the narrative I'm running with right now is Wicked for Good being this year's Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. I'm old enough to remember when Return of the King swept the Oscars that year, 2005 for the 2004, excuse me, for the 2003 year. And part of it was, we're going to award the film that was the biggest hit, was a major cultural phenomenon, and was in 3 parts. So they waited for the end and gave it a slew of awards. So I think Wicked for Good has that potential. They're leaning into it. They're definitely emphasizing this is the conclusion of the story. You saw the first half. You got to see how it ends. And so I think it's smart of them to sort of position it that way, because it is also a cultural phenomenon. There's a lot of love around Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo, especially. The one X factor there is obviously John M. Chu will most likely be left out of Best Director, so won't have the Best Director sort of love and support that others have. But I do think the Lord of the Rings narrative is very potent, and that's the one I'm sort of seeing right now. Unless the movie is just a huge fall off in quality, which I doubt, I think it's got a good shot at writing that into strong contention.
Can anything challenge either of those films for Best Picture? Can we talk about my love, Hamnet? Do you think Hamnet stands a chance?
I've seen Hamnet twice now. Every time you see it, you are hearing sniffles throughout. And it's really been the movie out of all the fall festival films that is just impacting audiences the most. It's winning audience prizes like crazy. And I can't deny that that's a really strong contender. Jessie Buckley seems very well positioned to win. I guess, Cynthia Erivo could be a challenger to that, but that movie is just kind of undeniably one of their top, contenders. It's very much an Oscar bait movie, and it's coming for probably double-digit nominations. So it's a looming threat for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely a festival darling. I love the film. I've been very vocal in my support for it. And this isn't to take anything away of the other films you've mentioned too. I think One Battle is so strong, and I think Wicked is really strong as well. I just think Chloe did a great adaptation of a novel and made it something else. And I think Jessie's performance is transcendent, and I think she's absolutely the front runner for Best Actress. It's just a different kind of film in the conversation for Best Picture.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to tell. I do think the emotional impact of Hamnet it lands every time people see it. It moves you immensely. The sort of working against it potentially is Chloe Zhao won relatively recently for Nomadland. That was only about 5 years ago, so she's a recent winner. Doesn't discount her being nominated across the board, but I do think it sort of maybe moves the conversation to a film that hasn't necessarily been, or filmmaker that hasn't necessarily been rewarded yet. So I think that's the one reason why it's circling in my top, but it's sort of distant compared to some of the other ones that are out there this year.
What do you think fills out that Best Picture top 10? Because we've got so many different kind of films that are coming out, and I think what we've been seeing is films falling out of the conversation when they don't perform as expected at the box office. Cole, why don't you go ahead?
I was still thinking. If you got something to say, I'll continue thinking as you speak and also listening.
Well, as Cole mentioned earlier, Sinners is definitely going to be an across the board contender. That is absolutely going to be in the top 10, top 5. And I do also think, speaking of narratives, I think that also has a comeback narrative that could easily propel it into first place across the board too. I think there's so much love for that movie. It's going to be re-released over Halloween. People are going to have a chance to re-experience it, and so I think that's going to give that crucial second look that I think could really help it, especially as all the other films are sort of figuring out where they stand. You can never count out James Cameron. So Avatar: Fire and Ash, the previous 2 Avatar films have been nominated for Best Picture. Unless this is a major drop off in quality, I think this gets a nomination just purely on the strength of that franchise and Cameron as a director. Sort of on the foreign international feature front, I think It Was Just an Accident is definitely going to be in the top 10, knowing the background of the Academy now. It's gotten more diverse, more global, and Jafar Panahi's a beloved director overseas. None of his films have been nominated for Best International Feature before or Best Picture, so this would be the first time, and I think that's a great narrative for him. And then I also have a few other smaller films that can always sneak in. Train Dreams, which is one of my favorite Netflix offerings.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful movie. I think that could really sneak in under the radar while other films are getting sorted out. Sentimental Value, I think is going to ride its festival buzz, probably in contention. I'm not the biggest fan of the film, but I know it's gotten a lot of love, and so I can definitely see it finishing in the top
Ethan,
10.
How dare you?
I know. Sorry to break that news right here. I think Frankenstein, I was dubious about that at first, but based on all the love around Del Toro and the fact that it's had a surge recently, that could just squeak in as people see it and as it gets more widely seen. And then I'm known around here for my Hope Dictions. So my Hope Diction is The Testament of Anne Lee, beyond Amanda Seyfried, who is terrific in the film. I think she's definitely going to be Best Actress. I'm predicting that the film itself is going to get a lot of recognition across the board as well, and that will help it again sneak into the number 10 spot.
Cole, what's your Hope Diction? What fills out your top 10?
My Hope Diction is No Other Choice, and I'm very hesitant about it. My reasoning is leaning on that International People's Choice Prize at TIFF, which I think is
right.
I think that's kind of a big deal. Like that festival, we do look to the audience awards kind of to see what's kind of hot and highly anticipated, and that beat like all these other international contenders that are also in contention for Best Picture. The only other movie that was not mentioned that maybe you have also is Marty Supreme,
yes,
which
talk about that
I got to see at the New York Secret Screening, and I think that's a pretty easy one to say is also in contention. But yeah, I mean, for the 10th, No Other Choice, just at my 10th slot and I think we're all allowed to have a Hope Diction in the 10th slot.
Absolutely.
And Anne Lee is not impossible either. Searchlight's contender this year, maybe. So certainly one I'm looking out for.
And none of you mentioned Jay Kelly. Do you think Jay Kelly gets in there?
I'm very, very, I have it at 11. I don't know what's going on with it. I mean, it seems to be underperforming, but then there's some people who are really big fans, and so maybe that's just enough, and it kind of really remains to be seen whether or not the industry will be the ones to respond to it, because of course it's kind of for the industry. And are people going to really get behind Adam Sandler and George Clooney and Baumbach as a writer director again? I mean, it's definitely possible. That movie is just loaded with one scene Hollywood royalty performances, and I mean, it just remains to be seen. I don't know when the last time a film kind of didn't really hit that hard with festival audiences or critics, but then it did hit only with the industry. It seems like a rare scenario, but maybe that's what we're looking at.
I wanted to go back to the Marty Supreme because I'm going to zag with Cole a little bit on that. I'm not sure that it's Best Picture material. I was at the secret screening as well, and it played really well in the room. I mean, it was a New York crowd primed for that for that film. And Josh Safdie gave a great intro. He brought Timothée Chalamet out, which is a great moment. And I think Timothy is definitely getting the Best Actor. That's no question. He's terrific in the movie. I think it's a great shot at him winning Best Actor. But I don't know, the movie itself, I'm not convinced yet that it's definite Best Picture contender. There's a lot about it that might not land. It's a little shaggy, a little long. Uncut Gems, people love, didn't perform particularly well in the Oscars, so it's a good time as well. So it's an open question whether the Safdie style is Best Picture material. But certainly, I think Timothée Chalamet, I think it's safe to say, is definitely going to be in there. So that goes with that question.
No, I agree with you, Ethan. I'm sort of curious to see when it gets exposed to a larger Academy audience how they respond to it. I mean, he's such an off-putting character, and I'm not saying off-putting characters can't contend. And I think Timothy is definitely in the Best Actor race. But there's just a lot of moments, especially in the screening that I was at, where people are like, "Oof, I can't believe he just said that." I'm gonna go back and bring up Springsteen again. It's opening this weekend as we're recording this. That's another sort of film that seems to be landing very much in the middle of the road. It's very mixed reviews. I'm sounding from both of you, neither of you thinking it gets into Best Picture.
Not anymore. After
Yeah.
the Telluride premiere, it felt kind of strong. Like people were going, they were praising the two actors, the two Jeremys in it, and the music biopics haven't always had the highest bar to clear. So I figured even though critics don't love it, like it could still get in, but the reviews have really like dipped. It's
Mm-hmm.
below 70 on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's tracking I think around 10 million opening weekend, which is not fantastic for this kind of movie. So I really think that one is like Jeremy Allen White or bust at this point. Yeah, I kind of gave up on that.
Womp womp. No, it's a good segue to talk about the actor race then, because I think a lot of these are just going to be actor performances. So we've sounds like we're all agreeing that Timmy is getting in. He's getting in. Jeremy Allen White, do we think he's getting in for Springsteen?
I'm not as convinced anymore, honestly. I
Really?
think he's more vulnerable now than he was before. I still think playing a musician, especially a rock icon like Bruce Springsteen, is generally a great advertisement for your
Hmm.
campaign. So I definitely wouldn't count him out completely. But I don't know. I think the sort of the weekend will help tell the story. We'll see how many people turn out for it, and then the first slew of early awards as well. If he misses out on the Globes, which I would be surprised if that happened, then I think you really have to worry. But no, I can see him slipping a little bit potentially, and other people lying in wait.
Who's lying in wait? Leo?
Oh, I don't
I
think
think
he's lying in
Leo's in
wait.
no
He's
matter
definitely
what.
in there.
Leo's there. Leo's
Yeah,
there. Leo's at the top of the
he's there.
pack.
Exactly. I'm going to mention Joel Edgerton. Speaking of Train
Hmm.
Dreams, I think Train Dreams is again that little movie is starting to show more, screen more. He's a really respected person in the industry. It's his movie. He's
Hmm.
the
He
centerpiece.
carries it.
He carries it. The ending of that film is beautiful, and I think it's so much of it is that performance at the that he gives at the end, especially. So I think that movie is going to have people leaving the theater really remembering him and remembering how good Joel Edgerton is. So I could see him being the one to benefit potentially if Jeremy does slip a little bit.
All right, Cole,
Yeah,
who's on your ballot? Who are your
Joel.
five actors?
Well, Joel Edgerton is interesting because I love Train Dreams, and it's I think my favorite Netflix contender. When I saw it, I got to see it for a second time at the Montclair Film Festival in New Jersey, and it was like half full, and then Hamnet was, of course, filled up.
Right.
My main concern with Train Dreams is that it's just not front of mind for people, and I don't know that Joel Edgerton comes along if the movie's not in Best Picture
Mm.
because it's a very subtle kind of performance, and
Hmm.
that's something that not all the precursors necessarily go for, like SAG and Critics' Choice, or they seem a little bit more populist. And so I don't know where the if the precursors would look too strong for Train Dreams, where I would feel too confident about it. But he is really good in it. I hope he gets nominated. The kind of uh, bottom, or I think that Timothy Chalamet and Leonardo DiCaprio are the real locks.
Mm.
Maybe you wouldn't say Timothy's a lock if you aren't confident about Marty Supreme, but I have Wagner Moura and Ethan Hawke in
Oh.
as
Hmm.
their movies may not be in Best Picture. I mean, Secret Agent certainly has a case. There's definitely a lot of rising buzz in that movie that I'm always I have an ear out for. But he seems to be something that it just feels like he's going to kind of come along, and I could see him winning a Golden Globe drama as long as Marty Supreme and One Battle are in comedy. And then Ethan Hawke and Blue Moon, I mean, that's a Sony Pictures Classics contender, and they can always kind of sneak in with a surprise contender. I don't see why, given the performance, which I just saw recently, like he couldn't be like a Bill Nye and Living
Yeah.
kind of contender.
Hmm.
Or, I mean,
And he's having a
he's
moment with the lowdown right now too, so he's very much top of
yeah,
mind for entertainment.
For sure.
yeah, he's that movie's an absolute showcase for him.
Hmm.
Can I ask? I haven't completely given up on Dwayne Johnson for the Smash Machine yet. Speaking of narratives, obviously the first narrative of this is going to be my career transformative performance didn't quite work out. The movie didn't do so
Okay.
well, but there is the comeback narrative that we're going to start to see as things settle. And I could see as the movie sort of slides along, as the season slides along, so it's like, hey, maybe we should look at Dwayne Johnson again. He might play that card. He's already teaming with Benny Safdie, excuse me, for another movie. So I think he could also still potentially have that angle. The Globes, especially, I think will recognize him. So I'm not completely ready to count out Dwayne Johnson. Yeah, just yet. I don't know if either of you are, but
We'll give you that one as your another hope diction.
there we go.
Let's move on to Best Actress. Let's give it to Jessie Buckley. Congratulations, Jessie Buckley. You have that slot. Amazing.
I will say again, going with the Wicked theme, I don't think it's impossible. I don't think it's
No, it's
impossible.
not impossible because it's
to win.
yes.
It's the completion of her performance. People loved her for Defying Gravity. She took a role that was identified with Idina Menzel, made it her own, and significantly,
100%.
there hasn't been a Black actress to win Best Actress since
Correct.
Halle Berry over 20 years ago at this point. So I think there's a lot of narratives working in her favor. Yes, Jessie Buckley completely deserved
sure.
amazing.
I just meant that she has a slot.
But
yes.
But
Jesse, you have a slot. Cynthia,
right, exactly.
You have a slot.
Cynthia, but I do think Cynthia is right now my sneak pick to win. I'm sort of going with that. Even with the Buckley domination early on, I am thinking there's a lot working in Cynthia's favor.
And I think the momentum is going to be in Cynthia's favor when that film comes out, because it's just, it is a powerhouse performance. And I got to be in the audience when they performed that musical special, and she, without giving it away, literally defies gravity. Cole, what are you looking at the Best Actress slate?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Jessie Buckley is, to me, it feels nearly tied up. I mean, to Ethan's point, if you do believe in Wicked as a potential Best Picture winner, that movie does require some above the line wins, and director and screenplay don't feel as likely for that. So where you'd probably want to go is to just say, like, the actresses are going to carry that movie. And so I think if you're going to have Wicked at number one for Best Picture, you may have to put Arrivo up there. But yeah, I mean, I'm not quite on the train, so I do have Jessie Buckley. But yeah, I mean, Renata Reinsma for Sentimental Value, I think should be pretty in there. I don't see how she wouldn't come along with that movie. And I do have Amanda Seyfried for Ann Lee. I'm just thinking, like, Searchlight's maybe got to have like one nomination at least somewhere. And I mean, maybe is this thing on in screenplay? Like, I don't know, but she's kind of doing all the theatrics and the hardcore, like, dedication.
It's a performance.
I like to see. Yeah.
Yes.
It was controversial in my recent predictions video that I had Kate Hudson just at number 5, and I think it's controversial in my own mind as well, because I don't know how to feel about Emma Stone and Begonia. Rose Byrne is amazing, and Chase Infinity's movie is so strong. It is a tricky category. I don't think that I think maybe that there's only 3 real, like, I'd be shocked if they didn't get in.
I would say besides the 3 that we were on, Cynthia, Jessie, and Amanda, I have all those. Those are my top 3. The other 2 I have Chase Infinity. I think is going to be this year's Mikey Madison. I think she's going to get in on the strength of the performance in the movie. And then instead of Renata, I'm actually going to go with Rose Byrne for If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You for the 5th.
What do you have against Sentimental Value?
I think she's the Andrea Riseborough of this year, Rose Byrne. I think that's a little movie, but it's all about her performance. And enough people see it and are impressed by what she's doing and what she has to do to carry that movie. I think just for that achievement alone, I could see her being the sort of fifth slot, the under the radar person who sneaks in. So yeah, those are my 5. Sentimental Value is such a ensemble piece apart from Stellan, who definitely stands out, as I'm sure we'll get to in supporting actor. I'm not sure any of those other performers will necessarily break through, at least into a lead actress category. Right. So that's why I look at someone like Chase Infinity and Rose, who are definitely the leads and have a lot of driving material in the story. And those 2 stand out to me as over some of the other people.
I totally hear you. I'm going to bring up one of the arguments I always, we bring up a lot, especially in a year like this where you have to see a lot of movies. It's going to be hard to see those one performance, one category campaigns. And I think it's going to be tough. And this is no slight against Rose Byrne because I think her performance is amazing. She is on camera in like this the entire film. It's a really brave, amazing performance. I think you see sentimental value and you see a best picture campaign, you see a supporting actor campaign for Stellan, you see a screenplay campaign, and so I think Renata gets in for that. And I know, the two co-stars, Inga and Elle, are both in the supporting actress campaign too. So I think you cover a lot of bases when you see sentimental value, and it happens to be one of my favorite movies, which I will go on and about, but whatever. I think it's the father-daughter. As someone says to me, do we have daddy issues? Yes, we got it. But I think it's an amazing performance. But yeah, I think that, and then look, I think Chase gets in because I think there's if anything is going to sweep, I think there's one battle. I mean, I think one battle checks a lot of boxes. And I think we didn't talk about Tiana Taylor. I think there's a lot that one battle is going to get you, and there's a lot of that one battle is going to campaign for. And I think if anything is going to get a lot of down ballot, it's just going to be easy. I saw one battle, and you just sort of run down the ballot, and you're like, oh, it covers a lot of bases. So we'll see what happens. Yeah. Let's talk about Best Director. I know we've hit on it a lot. It feels like there's a lot of love for Paul Thomas Anderson, and this is probably going to be his year. I know we talked about Chloe. Maybe we're going to get another woman nominated this year. I'm going to stop with my sarcastic comments about how more women need to get nominated, so we will move on from that. Who else gets into Best Director this year?
I'm going to go really strong on the Cannes competition films that get into Best Picture are nominated. That hasn't been broken in the last 16 movies to do it since Moulin Rouge. He got kicked out for David Lynch from Mulholland Drive, who's also a Cannes movie. So even in that year, it's kind of strong. So I really think that the Jafar Panahi narrative is just so strong, and the director's branch loves to show that they're paying attention, or that they that they're paying attention to this auteur filmmaker, and I think that movie is breathtaking. So I'm really hoping that he gets in. Joachim Trier, I also have in. I could see how it could be a bit of a Noah Baumbach Marriage Story, which kind of sits out if the movie is sitting at a number 5 or 6 position in Best Picture. But again, the Cannes competition is strong, and he's had a couple really acclaimed works in the past decade. So I have him. I think Chloe Zhao is very, very likely to happen. That'd be absolutely shocking for her to not get in. And I have Josh Safdie for Marty Supreme. I think that will be, I have that in Best Picture, and I think that it will be a big critics hit. It's possible, like you were saying, that audiences find it to be a little bit of an assault on the senses, and it's just a little bit uncomfortable. But that's A24's big contender this year. Mm-hmm. Their directors typically get nominated, and he is, well respected and coming up and having the Oscar moment. It pains me to have Ryan Coogler at number 6, and I really don't have a great case for it, other than I think that the competition is so strong, and sometimes the sort of filmmaker that's been given big budgets and is looking for recognition here misses. But there's so many other factors that support why Sinners should be nominated that I have no confidence about that.
Ethan?
Yeah, I have Coogler in my top 5. Anderson, Zhao, Coogler, Panahi, definitely. And then the 5th is James Cameron. Again, never count out James Cameron. He's been nominated for the past 2 Avatar movies. Those are amazing technical achievements. They always come with a lot of technical recognition. So I think it's hard to completely leave him out. It's a very stiff year. He's been certainly nominated before, but I think that 5th slot, you almost always have to reserve for Cameron when he's out.
Well, he didn't get it for the last Avatar.
Oh,
are they saving it for this one though?
Are they saving for this?
Is that an argument?
If it's, I think if it was kind of a consensus that it was maybe the best of them all, maybe there's something there.
Or is it fatigue? Who knows? We'll see. It's the one film we haven't seen yet. How much does international voters factor into your thinking? I mean, it's certainly become a huge part of the Academy.
Yeah. I would go off of, again, the Cannes films are strong. Usually an international film will get into director. There are a couple times where it doesn't, All Quiet, I'm Still Here. But being in that can lineup and being a well-respected auteur. I mean, I was thinking about how Ruben Östlund, Thomas Vinterberg, Justine Triet, like even critics didn't really go out all that much for them in the directing category. Like if you go on IMDb and you check the awards history, like they didn't have a ton of precursors and they still got in with the Academy. So definitely makes you think about like the European Film Awards. Like they kind of will show who's in contention for those international slots. I'm not sure if it was just an accident. I know it's being submitted by France, but it may not count for those awards. I'm not sure, but sometimes you see it there.
And we've got a lot of strong international contenders this year. That's why I'm asking, because there's a lot of really strong films that are going to be vying for those slots, and I think they're going to get in. It's sort of hard. We've got It Was Just an Accident, Sentimental Value, No Other Choice. There are a lot of those films in the conversation. I know we're tight on time, so I do want to talk about supporting actor and supporting actress. Let's start with supporting actor. We've mentioned Stellan Skarsgård. Who else is in the conversation?
I've got Stellan at number one. I think again I think he's the most likely to win. He's again respected in the industry, been around a long time. Great in the movie. Even if it's not my favorite movie of the year, he's very good in it, and it's a great part for him. So I definitely see him leading the charge. Sean Penn has to be in the conversation. A great part of One Battle After Another. Paul Mescal, he's the one I'm sort of dubious about. I don't know that he's the strongest part of Hamnet, but he can certainly get swept up as that movie performs across the board. I think Jacob Elordi for Frankenstein. That's another maybe Hope Diction, but I think he's the best performance in that movie, I think, and so much of he's an example of the prosthetics and the makeup work that goes into it. So I think he's someone who could potentially sneak in there if that movie winds up getting embraced across the board as more people see it. And then Sinner's Love, I think, might carry Miles Canton into the final batch as well. I think those performances are gonna ride the wave of those movies as they take off with voters.
Yeah, I think Miles Caton in Sinners, like it's hard for me to tell if he would get the support or if Delroy Lindo would get the support. So for that reason, I have them like kind of on the edge. I agree about Paul Mescal, Stellan Skarsgård, Sean Penn. I don't see a world where they're not nominated. They're just like massive presences in the movie and showy performances. I think Elordi, I have him in, but if I decide that I want to put Jay Kelly in instead, then I'll probably swap him with Sandler, who's getting a lot of love. And then I have Benicio del Toro for One Battle After Another as the fourth nomination for me. Maybe some have Chase Infinity. Maybe some have Regina Hall. But I've just been seeing kind of an outpouring of love for his performance. And of course, he's a big actor with a great career with the Academy. And it's kind of reminding me of how when Banshees of Inisherin premiered, Brendan Gleeson was kind of the obvious contender, but then Barry Keoghan was shown a lot of love and he kind of came along, even stole the BAFTA.
Right.
So maybe it's like that, or maybe it's like a weird, sometimes the double supporting stuff is kind of tricky, where it seems like both are coming along and then one gets knocked out, like Paul Dano and Judd Hirsch, or Willem Dafoe getting the SAG nom and then Mark Ruffalo not, and it's all confusing, but I think there's enough love for both of the supporting performances that I could see it.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, like, how much do you worry about those double supportings within the same film? Like, when the film is big enough, can you carry both of those supporting performances? Does One Battle get both guys in? Does Sinners get both guys in, or does it knock one of them out? How big does the film need to be?
I mean, The Favorite did it, The Irishman did it, Banshees did it, The Help did it. Yeah, usually the movie has to be top 5. And I guess we could continue the conversation in supporting actress with.
I know it's a good segue to sentimental value. Yes, exactly.
I think One Battle being like, I think no one would deny it's maybe like top 2 or 3. So I think it's definitely strong enough to be able to do it.
Yeah, I'd say One Battle,
especially when they're both so popular, like they're both so well known and liked within their respective branches.
Yeah.
So to segue to sentimental value, do both women get in? Do both supporting actresses get in, or is it a reflection of the competition?
Well, I don't have either one in my top 5. Again,
of course you don't.
Right, exactly. Thinking of the competition and the ensemble nature, I'm not sure that they get in. I go with Ariana Grande again, sort of continuing the Wicked legacy. Teyana Taylor, Amy Madigan for Weapons, who's been the stealth oncomer all season, which I'm fully in support of that. Wunmi Masaku for Sinners, again riding the Sinners train, and she's terrific in that movie, and I think could get swept up in this Sinners Love. And then a sort of outside the pick is Glenn Close, just being a favorite, being constantly nominated by the Academy. That's for Wake Up Dead Man. The one thing, none of the Knives Out films have gotten acting nominations. It's only ever gotten for screenplay. So that's the one thing there where I think I'm probably off. But I just feel the Glenn Close factor is the thing. People are always rooting for her to get nominated. She got nominated for the Hillbilly Elegy of all things. So I think there's always a lot of love for Glenn Close. I could see her potentially, if anyone's going to break through for a Knives Out performance, it would be Glenn Close. So that's my sort of fifth outside pick there as a possible contender.
Cole, keep us honest. Who have you got?
I don't have Wunmi Musaku, and it's kind of like the supporting actor where there's so many great members of the ensemble, but it's hard to sort of envision who's going to be strong enough to get like kind of singled out. But I'd be happy if it happened for her. I have both sentimental value actresses in. I think it's interesting.
I knew I liked him.
Skarsgård winning, and then you have none of the cast being nominated.
Yeah,
exactly.
He's definitely the strongest one, but he's kind of. I mean, sometimes So my thing with sentimental value is that Elle Fanning, I think, especially after Complete Unknown being like kind of the biggest piece of the ensemble to not be nominated, and then coming out with one of her most acclaimed performances here, I think that makes sense. And then Inga Ibsdottir Lilius is just incredible. I mean, most people I talk to find that she's like they like her more than Elle Fanning. Of course, that's mostly critics, and SAG tends to overlook some of the unknowns. But I think Oscar and BAFTA can and Critics' Choice, and even Golden Globes, because they're so international now, can definitely have some support for her performance. Maybe even favor her over Elle Fanning. I don't know. It could be tricky for those two, but and then I have Ariana Grande, Tiana Taylor, and I also am a believer in Amy Madigan. I mean, the movie I don't think is very close to Best Picture, but she's just chewing the scenery, makeup, like it's a huge villain performance and kind of iconic in a way, and we'll see that on Halloween. How iconic
yes,
it is.
Exactly.
We'll be seeing a lot of her for sure.
I do think Inga could, if anyone breaks in for sentimental value and supporting actress, it would be her performance. I think personally would be the one that I would see. Probably leapfrogging over Glenn Close, but again, the Glenn Close veteran factor has me having her at number 5.
There are a lot of races we're not covering because it's time and space, and we've got a lot more campaigning to do. But Cole, if you were going to look at the rest of the slate, what's one race you would call out to look at? What's one that's intriguing you?
Like a race for the win in all the other categories? No,
just like another craft race, like another nomination, that like another below the line category that's intriguing you. Casting or editing or cinematography, screenplay.
Maybe Ethan can go while I
sure,
get
either one of you go.
Loaded.
Well, I love animation, so I'm always excited to see what the best animated feature lineup is. And I think this year the movie to beat is definitely K-pop Demon Hunters. And I think I'm going to be very excited when Huntrix takes the stage and sings Golden live on the broadcast, and then the directors accept the award for that one. I think that's not my favorite animated movie of the year, but I do think it's a great narrative how it broke out, and I think it seems to me like the one to beat at this point.
I'll go with casting. It's the new category. I have one battle, and it's partly because I think the movie could do a sweep, and it's also because there are so many actors in contention, and it might even win the SAG Ensemble Award that I thought Sinners had, so strong going for it. Maybe Wicked for Good would take the ensemble too, or casting. But that's just I'm just really interested in what the nominations will be and how it might differ from like an ensemble prize. I mean, the Academy at large, when they're voting for the winner, probably will think of it as like an ensemble prize, but the casting branch might have a little bit of a different angle on how they're looking at the nominees.
Yeah, I agree with you. We've got a lot to learn about the casting category and how that's going to work and how the branch is going to look at it versus the larger academy. So excited to see how that one plays out, because I think we've seen a lot of great ensembles, but is it about the discovery or is it about the ensemble? So excited to see how that one plays out. And then give me one underdog. What's the one film that we haven't talked about that you would love? I guess it's sort of the Hope Diction category, but what's one film or a performance that you would just love to be talking about throughout the rest of the season?
I'm loading.
Okay,
Ethan,
no,
you can go if you're
load.
not.
Buffer. Ethan, you got one?
Sure, I'll say Jim Jarmusch for Father, Mother, Sister, Brother for Best Original
Hmm.
Screenplay. I think that movie really caught me off guard at New York Film Festival. I'd heard mixed things, but I loved it, and I'm a huge Jarmusch fan. He's never been recognized. I don't think that movie gets into any other races probably, but I would love to see it get a Best Original Screenplay nod. I think he's overdue, and it's a really beautiful little movie.
I could just say No Other Choice again, because that is one of my favorites this year. I think it has a really strong chance in adapted screenplay, if nothing else. That category is not saturated with Best Picture movies, and I mean, I would love to see director, but it's so crowded that I'm just not so sure about that. Um, yeah, I'm definitely rooting for Panahi. I know he's getting in, and we talked about it, but I'll be very happy about that.
Yes, agreed.
Yep. And I'm just gonna go with Train Dreams. I know we've belabored the point with Train Dreams, but I feel like it's. I'm just gonna keep, because I would even say Carrie Condon's performance. I mean, it's just like for a small but memorable performance. I was trying to write. We wrote up the categories this morning, and I was trying to describe who she played, but anything I described made it sound like a spoiler, so I couldn't describe it that much. But it is just one of those performances that stuck with me. So pay attention when you see it. Well, Cole, thank you so much for joining us and arguing with us. It really was a pleasure. It's been so great having you as part of the family, and we'll have you back soon. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you. Happy to argue anytime.
And I'll go watch Sentimental Value again. You can, and then maybe it'll hit me the second time. Maybe I'll get it right the second time.
You
Maybe you'll
have
hate
no
it more.
heart. Exactly. I'll yell at you at Monday's meeting. All right. Thanks, everyone.